Recording. Okay, we're recording this webinar. Thanks everyone for joining me today. We are going to talk more about the Cuso Challenge. This is a challenge that is near and dear to my heart. I went on this challenge and I'm going to tell you all about the challenge and how amazing it is, and I'm excited to do that today. So like I said, I have about an hour with you today. I'm sharing my screen with you, so what you see is what's on my screen. I do have everyone muted at the moment, but if you do have a question throughout the presentation, please feel free to type in the questions box. I want to hear from you. I want to have a dialogue. I want to have your questions answered. So definitely type in that questions box. I'm going to be monitoring that as we go along. I believe only the questions come to whoever is presenting. I'm joined also by a friend of mine, Mark Berlin, who is with Charity Challenge. There are the tour operator for this challenge, and he's going to be able to give a lot of insight today as well. Like I said, I'm recording, and let's begin. We have about 15 people on the call. So let's get started, and the rest can catch up as we go along. Great. So it sounds like people can hear me okay. And perfect. Thanks, Catherine, for that feedback. Perfect. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about who I am. My name is Amy Gibson. I'm the fundraising officer here at Cuso International, and really my role is to help you out along the way, to answer questions, to help you with your fundraising. This initiative is certainly a fundraising endeavor for Cuso International, and with that fundraising piece, I am here to support you in that. So as we go along, please feel free to ask me questions about anything. And you can see from this photo, I am the goofy one in the middle there. That's me. I went on the trip last year and it was amazing. I have to say, a lot of people say that it was life-changing for them, and it truly is a very special thing to be able to trek and challenge yourself and then end up in this beautiful, historical, amazing archaeological site at the end of it. It is truly special, and I can certainly attest to that. And so that's a photo of last year's group. That is the Sacred Valley behind us. It's gorgeous. We had a beautiful few days of trekking. So you can see there that there was sun and cloud, and it was just beautiful and lush and green. So that's a little bit about who I am. In the questions box, I want to get to know you better. Type why you're motivated to do this. Let me know why you want to do it. Is it something that's been on your bucket list? Have you always thought about doing something like this? Is this kind of out of left field for you? Did you think that maybe you're still on the fence about it and you're not quite sure whether it's something that you want to do? But let me know. I'd love to hear from you about why you're motivated to do this, or if you've been to Peru before. And of course, there's no wrong answers. I'm here monitoring the questions, but like I said, I'd love to hear from you. So I want to now. Oh, great. It's on your bucket list. Isabel says it's on her bucket list. That's not uncommon. That's certainly what we hear. Peru and some sort of humanitarian mission trip has always been on my bucket list. Michelle, awesome. And you know what? That's really a great combination of having this personal challenge and then also helping a charity that you believe in. And the work that we do, I'm going to be able to talk a little bit more about it today. It really is so impactful, and so it's a really great marriage of those two things. Sabrina says, I always wanted to do a trip to Peru and also wanted to help communities there. Wonderful. Those are such great motivations. I think that this challenge kind of ticks both of those boxes, and let me tell you a little bit more about that. So Cuso International, for those of you who don't know who we are a charitable organization. We're not for profit. We have a long history. We've just had a birthday, actually. We've been in operation since 1961, and just last week we turned 58. So we're very proud of that. And we've been working to reduce poverty and inequality around the world through our partners and our volunteers for a very long time. So each year we mobilize hundreds of volunteers. They go to work side by side with partners to create positive and lasting change, to really build capacity in a whole number of ways, but to really reduce poverty and inequality in the regions that they work with. I can speak, oh, here's a little quote from one of our trekkers last year. It's a wonderful opportunity to challenge yourself while raising money and awareness for a great organization. So those are some of the same themes that I heard from you guys already today. So about Cuso in Peru, we certainly have a strong presence in Peru. We have a very strong program there. We've been helping partners in the Andean region for a very long time. And by joining the challenge, what you're doing is really helping women and girls gain the skills they need for lasting employment, to promote sustainable economic development, to strengthen the Andean way of life. Last year, you can see the photos on the screen here. These are photos from a partner that we visited. And the partner was all about bringing rural tourism out to an area, a very small community that was right on a lake, beautiful mountainside community. And the whole idea was that these women had band together to create a cooperative, and they were really drawing tourists out into the rural areas and showing them Andean life, showing them how to weave, like we saw this demonstration here, and all the beautiful products you can see behind them, dyeing all of the alpaca wool and weaving beautiful things from tablewares, tablecloths, and all different types of bags and clothes and scarves and beautiful items. And really, the whole point is it really helps to sustain them, to bring tourists out into these rural areas. And so it was just amazing. And part of what this trek is about is going to see a Cuso project. You'll actually, we have a day, it's on the first Saturday, where we have an opportunity to go and see some of the work that we do in the Andean region and outside of Cusco. This particular partner was about an hour outside Cusco. And we took a bus out there. We were able to have lunch. They served us a beautiful lunch, and we got to ask questions and understand really Cuso's impact there. We had a volunteer that was working directly with them, helping them to strengthen their cooperative and to work with them on marketing. And people could actually stay in their homes. And so getting their homes up to speed so that they could host a North American type of audience to come and stay with them. And the work that we did with them was really transformative. They were so grateful and so thankful for the support that they received from our volunteers. It really has transformed their ability to sustain themselves and to contribute to their families and provide for their children and their family. So it's not just the one income coming from the husband, typically. Catherine says she's always wanted to go to Peru, and she wanted to get involved in Cuso as well and do some international aid work. Well, this is it. This is definitely a great way to, like I said, challenge yourself and see Cuso's work firsthand. And I can tell you that it's quite impactful and so worthwhile. It kind of puts the whole thing into perspective, because you certainly get an understanding of what life in Peru is like, certainly. So let's talk about the challenge, the 5 W's. Let's put them up here. So who is it? It's Cuso International. We're organizing this as a fundraising opportunity, and we're working with Charity Challenge. Charity Challenge is our tour operator, our partner. They have in-country support, ground handlers, and guides. And Mark is going to talk about this. I'm going to throw the mic over to him in a minute, and we're going to give him a chance to really give us the ins and outs of the details of the trek itself. What are we doing? We're trekking, we're camping, we're exploring, we're learning so much from the experience, and of course sharing our own knowledge with each other. We're going to the city of Cusco mainly, so that's where the challenge begins, and we are headed to Machu Picchu. And then when is it happening? This is very important. March 27th, April 4th, 2020. So it's in March next year that's when we're going to be going. It's 9 days. 5 of the 9 days are spent trekking. why are we doing this? A personal challenge, like I said, and to fundraise for Cuso's mission. So like I said, we're a charity and we need support to be able to continue to send volunteers and to make a difference around the world. And that really is why we're doing this, to provide this opportunity to see our work, to have the fundraising impact, and to really raise awareness about what we're doing around the world. And then how can you do it? You can join us. You can book your spot and join us and come along with us. I have another quote there from another participant, Sandy, who went on the trek last year, and she talked about how remarkable the experience was. So I'm not seeing any other questions right at the moment. I'm just checking in on the questions. Okay. So let's now talk a little bit about the fundraising side of things. So like I said, it is certainly a fundraising opportunity for Cuso International, but we provide you with all of the support that you need to take on that fundraising component. So we will provide you with an online fundraising page where you can go on and update your message and add a photo and use your email to send out this page, and people can make a donation online. So all of the donations that we receive from this will be able to be eligible for a tax receipt. And some people choose to either pay for the challenge or choose to fundraise for the challenge. So it can happen in either way. So let's now talk more about the specifics of the challenge. So I'm going to get Mark on the line, and I'm going to share the presenter. Make another person. Okay, Mark, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to just change this so that I'm going to make you a presenter. And then you can go from there.
I'm hoping I did that right.
Yes.
Amazing. You know me and technology.
You've done great. Yeah, perfect. We can see your screen.
Amazing. Okay. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and learn about this challenge and the great cause that you'll be supporting. I've had the pleasure of being able to do this challenge multiple times. So the nice thing is, you know, if you do decide to go, you have myself and you've also got Amy, who both have done the challenge. So most, I would say, questions you'll ever have are going to be able to be answered in-house right away. So I'm just going to jump into the presentation. I'm not going to spend too much time, you know, nitpicking every little detail. There's a lot of information on the website. The itinerary is there. The Q&As are there. I'm going to give you a basic overview of just sort of from arrival to departure and what the days sort of look like. So a little bit about Charity Challenge. We launched in Canada in 2011, but the company was started actually in the UK in 1999. We only do charity events. We don't do anything for the general public. Everything is within the charity sector, and we run more international fundraising challenges than any other company worldwide. We run, in fact, it's now more than 120 challenges per year. We're in 30 plus countries, 6 continents. We do everything from you know, challenges like I'm going to talk to you about to snow and ice-based challenges. We trek in Asia and Africa, you know, Europe, all over the place. So as Amy already mentioned, it's a 9-day challenge, 5 of which you'll be trekking. We'll reach an altitude of about 15,000 feet, and you'll be visiting mainly Cusco at the beginning and end, and then Machu Picchu and the town below it called Aguas Calientes. Phenomenal place, incredible people. The landscape, the scenery, the energy of the area that that we're in and trekking through is really something to behold. It's quite amazing. So essentially, you will arrive on day 1. You will get checked into the hotel. We will do a short briefing just around noon, and then we'll go and do an acclimatization walk around the city. The idea not only to give you a glimpse of the town, the main square, some of the historical buildings and architecture in the area. It's also to get you used to walking at altitude. It's not what I would say severe altitude. It's not like, Everest Base Camp or Kilimanjaro, but you certainly will notice the altitude when you're there just simply walking about. So that first day, we really take it easy. It's a very slow walk around town, but it just sort of helps give you the sense of what it's going to be like, get some bearings, and things like that. Day 2 is going to be your Cuso project visit that Amy mentioned and spoke about. And then day 3, you will do an acclimatization walk. So you're still in Cusco at this point. And we take you out to the surrounding areas. There's some local ruins and things like that. And we do a half-day trek, nothing too intense. But again, it's just to get you used to a little more, vigorous pace walking, getting used to your gear, your equipment, making sure there's no issues before we head out. You have a lovely picnic lunch, and then you come back to Cusco, and then the following day, day 4, we begin the trek. So here is where we'll bus from Cusco to Parpicchu, and that's where you start trekking. And as you can see there on the map, you'll trek, I want to say it's about 6 hours or so. You'll trek up to Chilapacua, and that's your first camp area. And the campsites are quite nice. They're scenic. On occasion, the locals will come out to your camp and they'll set up a big tarp, and they'll lay out all kinds of handmade alpaca wool scarves and mitts, hats, gloves, socks, you name it. They have all kinds of things there. Sometimes they'll have gone into town and they'll have things like Gatorade and Snickers bars and things like that you can buy from them as well. Extremely reasonably priced. They're very, very shy and quiet. They will just sit there. They won't approach you. They're not pushy whatsoever. It's quite nice. So you get to camp. When you get there, your tents are set up already. Your main bag will be waiting there for you. You do not have to carry your main bag. It is ported for you. You're just carrying a small day pack, maybe 25 to 35 liters probably would do, which you'll be having your, some snacks, extra pair of socks or shoelaces, a camera, maybe a waterproof poncho, things like that, a hat, just the basics that you'd need. But your main bag, as I said, is ported for you. That will have the bulk of your clothes, your sleeping bag, your toiletries, whatever you don't need during the day. So you'll have access to your bag right away. You'll go to your tent. There'll be thermarests in your tent already inflated. While you get there, there should be some snacks and things while they're preparing your dinner. And then it's dinner and bed. You'll be pretty tired. You wake up fairly early, maybe around 6:30 or so, and you'll trek that day to Incas Cocha. That's your next campsite. Along the way, you will stop for lunch. At that point, you'll have access to your main bag if you want to drop off. Maybe you started with a fleece or a down jacket. It gets quite cool in the evening and the early morning, so you might want to strip that off. It's in your day pack. You get to lunch and you can just throw it in your main bag, and then again that will be ported for you to your evening camp. And again, the same thing. The following day, you trek all the way to Camaconcha, and that's your final camping night outside of Ollantaytambo, which you can see just southwest Camaconcha there, you'll see Ollantaytambo. In the morning, you'll actually head down there and you'll jump on a train. This will be the morning of day 7. You'll jump on a train, which will take you to the famous kilometer 104, where you will get off the train. You will register at the gate to get on the Inca Trail, and you'll spend the day trekking on the Inca Trail. It's one of the nicest sections of the trail, in my opinion. You see some fantastic ruins along the way. There's a waterfall. It's quite breathtaking. And that day, you have a packed lunch. Every other day, they're cooked lunches. This day, it's a packed lunch. You, near the end of the day, you get up to the Sun Gate, which is the traditional entrance to Machu Picchu. At that point, you will see the ruins for the first time with the naked eye. And we aim to get there at the end of the day with the intention, we know you're going to come back the following day for a proper tour. But when you get there originally, for some people, it certainly was for me, it's an emotional moment. You've spent months fundraising, possibly training, taking time from work and family, arrangements, the cost. It all comes to sort of life in front of you at that moment. And for many people, it's an emotional thing. And Machu Picchu is very busy. It's very touristy. And to have that sort of emotional, spiritual moment in a small area, because the Sun Gate is very, very small. It's a small entrance area. If you're crammed with a ton of people there, you know, some people laughing, talking loudly, taking pictures, it kind of takes away from the experience, in our opinion. So we aim to get you there later in the day when the park is getting ready to close. There's less people there. It's a much nicer experience. So we trek from the Sun Gate down to the ruins, about 20 minutes worth of trekking. And then fairly soon after you get there, we're ushered out to the buses and taken down into the town below the ruins called Aguas Calientes. It's maybe a 10, 15-minute bus ride. There you check into the hotel, you can shower, relax, have a nice dinner that night with a group, and the next morning you will come back up to the ruins early in the morning for a proper guided tour. The tour guide will more than likely be your trekking guide. They are licensed as well to properly guide through the ruins. The knowledge they have and the things you'll learn about the smallest little thing, you know, in terms of the type of stone on one building compared to another and why that stone is there. They really get detailed. It's pretty amazing. So you have a bit of time afterwards to explore on your own. And then you will take the bus down to the train station, which is, you have to pass through a very large market. And there's some pretty great things in there. But you train back and then bus into Cusco, where you have a nice celebration dinner. You stay back at the hotel, where you do, by the way, you have the opportunity to leave anything that you don't need on the trek. You can leave at the hotel. And your celebration dinner that night, and then that's it. And then the following day, you would depart or go off on your own if you're doing any more exploring. I've pretty much covered your typical day. This is not a campsite that we use anymore, but it's what a typical campsite might look like. There will be a large mess tent. Depending on the size of the group, they will combine one or two together. You'll see kind of what they look like in another slide that I have. The staff are fantastic. They really are. I mean, Amy can speak to them as well. They really help make the challenge what it is. They are kind. They are just loving, caring people. They realize that you're there and what you've done to get there. We've worked with the ground handler for over 20 years now. The challenge runs like clockwork. It really, you know, it's fantastic. There will be a lead guide, as you can see in this picture. George, actually, in the middle, he is one of the lead guides, and the other two gentlemen would be assistant guides. There will also be a doctor that will be joining the group, who is specially trained in trekking, medicine, and of course, altitude trekking. So that is a really nice thing to have with the group. It helps ease any potential concerns or worries somebody might have. So as well as a doctor, all the staff are first aid trained and English speaking. Accommodation, you're going to be staying in Cusco in a hotel. Typically, you're an average 3-star hotel, nothing fancy. We try to stay in locally owned hotels, so the money will stay in the communities that we're in. You'll also be, so other than that, you'll be staying at a hotel in Aguas Calientes after you visit Machu Picchu. Otherwise, it's camping. Every other night you'll be in tents. So this is a typical mess tent. In the evening, all those flaps will be closed because it does get cooler. And that's one table. They can have 2, 3, 4 tables all together, depending on the size of the group. They can cater to vegetarian, vegan, lactose intolerant, glucose intolerant. They really can do anything. I believe kosher, they can actually even do kosher, but it's not technically 100% kosher. Training and fundraising, Amy's really kind of gotten into that. There will be a couple different models you can choose from, each costing you different amounts versus the amount that you have to raise for Cuso. Pre-tour administration. So we're a very hands-on company. You can pick the phone up and call me directly if you have questions about anything, whether it be fundraising, training, the weather, what kind of sleeping bag you need, anything that you need regarding the challenge itself, you will contact us and we'll be happy to help you. As Canadians, I can tell you that you do not need a visa to go to Peru, but if you're traveling potentially from outside of Canada or you're not a Canadian citizen, we can help with visas if they are necessary for you. Vaccinations, again, there are no mandatory vaccinations. There are suggested vaccinations. Again, we can help you with any of those sort of pre-tour administration pieces. You also have a members area on the Charity Challenge website with a wealth of information in there for you. And you'll be going back into that area closer to departure for some documents that we're going to ask you to take with you, and also to copy and leave with family and friends back here. Emergency contact information, where you're going to be on what days, what the hotel address, phone number is, the emergency 24-hour number should you need to reach someone even while you're trekking. We have the capability to do that. So what's included? Everything from the time you get to the hotel to the time you're taken back to the airport. There will be one transfer included from the airport to the hotel at the beginning, and one transfer from the hotel to the airport at the end. In between that, everything is included. All your internal transfers, park passes, your Inca Trail pass, the doctor, the train pass, the bus passes, entrance to Machu Picchu, everything. Anything outside of breakfast, lunch, dinner, and drinking water, then if you wanted an extra meal, you wanted alcoholic beverages or something else at dinner, that would be extra that you would just pay for there at the restaurant or whatever. Yeah, so obviously vaccinations if you need them, visas if you need them, those would be at your own expense. Otherwise, everything else is included. That was really it. I know I kind of went through that very quickly, but I know there's not a whole lot of time left, and we do want to have some Q&A, and I know that Amy wants to add some more things. So I guess, if you have questions, Amy will be more than happy to share my contact details with you, and you can please feel free to contact me for anything that you need.
That's great. Thanks, Mark. I just want to add to that. Really, from my experience, this trip is so well organized. I have to reiterate that. On the charity challenge side and with the ground handlers, every need is satisfied. I feel like everything has been well thought out. They've done it so many times that it just really is seamless. And I think that's really like congratulations to you guys for doing that and making it such an easy, simple, guided way to do this challenge.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. And I have to say, the food is amazing. The
It is.
food is incredible. It
Yeah.
really is great. There is a soup at every meal. There is a main that comes after with, like you said, every dietary restriction met. And there's always a dessert of some kind. There's tea, there's drinks, there's hot chocolate, there's just all of those things that are there for you. So I had so much food. And of course you're trekking, so you're hungry and you're eating, but there was just so much, which was awesome. And yes, all the meals are included. Great question, Catherine. The meals on the like Mark said, all of the meals are included in the challenge costs. And I want to also reiterate the idea that you get to go to the site twice, right? Which is also really cool. You arrive at the Sun Gate, you have this beautiful view looking down onto, the site that you see on the screen now, and then you get to come down, have a shower, sleep in a beautiful hotel, and then come back up and really get a chance to delve into it and have a guided tour, which is also such added value. I think that's so amazing, and special to be able to have more time there. Um, and then again with the staff and the guides are so incredible as far as giving you information. They have so much historical information to share with you, trekking along and talking about the historical significance of what you're seeing is also just incredible. I think that they do such a wonderful job. Um, I have some really good questions coming in. So while I have you here, Mark, let's go through some of these questions.
Sure.
Michelle says she's only camped once in her life. What's the washroom situation like?
Okay. So at each camp, so there will be the one you get to in the evening, also the lunch stop, and again that following evening. Whenever there's a campsite, they're called toilet tents. And basically there's a commode with what we call a long drop toilet. There's what do you call that? It's a type of local ash so you go in the tent, you zip the tent closed, and you do what you do. And you dump the ashes on top, and it helps break it down. It takes the smell away, and it's quite civilized actually. If you need to go while trekking, so you're in between, your breakfast, your morning camp, and say lunch, you have to remember two things. One, you're in the same boat as everybody else in your group. This is probably the most common question that I get for all groups going anywhere that I go, and it's very private. If you need to go to the bathroom, then the group will move along. They'll slow down, and you can just step off the trail behind. There's all kinds of rocks and big bushes and things like that, and you can do what you have to do. So I don't know if that answers exactly what you wanted, but
I think
if it
that's a
did,
really, yeah, it's a good description. Michelle says thank you. You know what? I like to camp, but I found the washroom situation really, really good. And I just don't want to sugarcoat it, but I'm talking very positively about it, but um, it, it wasn't as horrible as you might think. And really, it's just this small tent, like a little changing tent almost that you would find at the beach. And you go in there and you zip it up, and it was like a composting toilet. So it had a seat on it and everything, and you get to pump water, and then use the washroom, and then you just have to pull a lever actually, and it falls away
Oh, wow.
into the bucket,
They've
and then
upgraded since I was there.
yeah, it's really easy, and then you just close it back up again. Like you don't see anything. It just you kind of pull this lever, and it all falls away, and then it gets like cleaned out on a regular basis, kind of thing. So it's like just a regular composting toilet. It's plastic and it has a seat on it and everything. So and they place the washroom tents like far away from the sleeping tents and the eating tents and all of that. So you have to like walk over to them. So you do have a sense of privacy as well. And there's usually 2 or 3 of them set up. And it's really not that big of a deal while you're camping. It is quite comfortable. And then, of course, there's also those times on the trail when, yeah, the group just walks ahead and you do your business and then you catch up to the group. So it doesn't end up being too much of a bother at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? You were talking about like the details of everything that they think of. I remember when I was there the first time, I wasn't sure exactly what to expect either. And one of the things they did when I was there that I liked is the toilet tents, as Amy said, they're set away, but they turn them so that the zippered entrance and exit is facing away from everyone,
Yes.
facing away from the camp and everything else. I kind of like that as well.
Exactly. Yeah, no, you're right. It adds that just extra layer of privacy and
Yeah.
security in a sense. Yeah. So yeah, it's certainly not a bad situation for sure. Um, So great question, Michelle. Thanks for asking that. I'm sure a lot of people had that same question. Denise is asking a question. Are the meals local dishes?
They do have a sort of a mix. We had I mean it might be chicken, but it might be seasoned or spiced, with local flavorings and things like that. I mean there's going to be couscous, and they do have I forget what it was, like some type of a cheese sauce that was absolutely incredible. Yeah, I mean they do. I mean it's not 100% every single thing you eat is going to be local authentic, but I mean they're Peruvian. They're and that's who's cooking everything for you. So yes, I mean very much so. It's going to be in the spirit of like a Peruvian fare.
Yeah, and what's available too. And I think it's and they also, I mean, they do know who their audience is. They are catering to a more North American audience, so they get that. So it's not traditional things that are not typical to North America either. So it's beans and rice and chicken and all of those regular staples. And it's those things that keep you sustained while you're hiking as well. Like that's certainly been considered to make sure that you're getting the calories and the nutrition that you need to carry on. And there's like oatmeal in the mornings and things like that. So I think that that's definitely a good. Like I said, the food was really good. We were well looked after.
I was going to say, as good as you think the food can be, it's better. It really surpassed all expectations, and I am quite picky when it comes to stuff like that. I was absolutely blown away when I first went out there. I couldn't believe what they were able to make and how amazing it tasted out in the middle of nowhere. It was really quite something.
It also helps that you're hungry from hiking all day.
For sure.
Yeah, exactly. But what they're able to accomplish, there is a team of people that work on cooking you food, and they are amazing, wonderful, nice people who are really skilled. And again, it's really well thought out, the ways that the meals are presented, and they're very well balanced and all of that sort of thing as well. One question, do people get their own tents, or is it 2 people per tent?
So everything, hotel and tent, is based on a twin share basis. Now, you can choose if you're going with maybe it's like a mother-daughter thing, or you're with a family member, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. Of course, you can share. If you like your own accommodation in your own tent, that is also available. I don't know the supplemental price for that offhand. It's not too terrible, as I recall. So certainly you have the option. If you'd like your own hotel room, they would give you basically a price, and that would cover all your hotels and the extra tent. So yes, if you like your own, you can.
Yeah. Yeah, there was one person in my group who ended up doing the just by himself. He just wanted to have single occupancy, but the rest of us were all double occupancy. Yeah, so there's a little bit of
Yeah.
a fee that goes with
And
that.
if you don't request, you'll be paired up. They'll try to usually pair you with someone around the same age and same.
Yeah, exactly. Sabrina has a question. Are there showers?
Okay, so when I went during the trekking portion, there were none. And since then, I do believe there were a couple of spots where you could shower. I think it just depends on the when and the where. So I mean, when you went more recently than I did, Amy. Did you have any when you were trekking?
There was one spot at the end before the last day. We stayed the day that we camped, and then the next day we got up and we took the train to hike the last day. That campsite did have showers, but it wasn't. It was very, very, very basic. But yeah, there were showers there. But we went into it thinking there's not going to be a shower situation, and I think that's probably a good way to look at it. It's a couple of nights, and like you said, you're all in the same boat. And I brought wet wipes with me and did the little bird bath kind of shower situation. And they provide you with hot water every evening when you're done as well. You can wash your face and kind of get a little bit clean that way as well.
Yeah.
Let's see what other questions we have here. How many hours of trekking do you do each day, from Kathy?
So Kathy, I mean, you do about a half-day acclimatization trek in and around Cusco. Other than that, your regular trekking days, you're probably looking, and again, this does depend on the speed of the group, anywhere between, I mean, maybe 6 and 7 hours. If it's a very slow group or you just taking long breaks, and it could be upwards of 8 hours, but I think typically it was about 6.5 hours to 7 hours of trekking. You have frequent breaks. And even if you don't want to take one, they'll make the group stop quite often. Take a breather, drink some water. The doc may want to come by and just randomly. They have that little wireless. What is that? That blood oxygen sensor. Yeah. They'll stick it on your finger just to check, just to make sure everyone's doing all right. Yeah. So that I would say that's fairly average. If you wanted me to give you like as close as I could, I would probably say 7 hours is a very good bet.
Yeah. On average, it's going to be about 7 hours, and like you said, it depends on how quickly you go as well. But generally speaking, from last time when I did it, it was about 7 hours. You can kind of bank on that with breaks and with lunch, and there's certainly opportunity to stop. And I have another question about if you get tired during the trek, can you get a ride?
Well, I mean, that's kind of a tough one to answer. So the short answer is yes.
Like in an emergency situation.
If it's an emergency, then yes, there are going to be horses, and also I think donkeys as well.
Yeah.
If you're in an area where you're unable to be picked up by a vehicle, then yes, you can get up on the horse and go that way. You would stay with the group. That being said, I mean, the whole purpose of this is to challenge yourself, as well as obviously raising vital funds for Cuso. But everyone's going to be tired. It's not going to be a walk in the park. The whole point is we want people to step out of their comfort zones, and set themselves goals and hopefully reach those goals, which I'm sure you all will. Most people do. If you're hurt, 100%, everything is provisioned for. We have it's called a Challenge Safe. It's our own program that we started a few years ago, with very strict sets of rules. Emergency management, risk assessment, all the due diligence is done. This is probably, next to Kilimanjaro, is probably our most popular challenge. We've run it so many times, like Amy said, it just runs. It's seamless.
Yeah. And there's contingencies, like you say, there's always a backup plan. There's always a plan B.
Yes.
But those plan Bs are in place for real situations. Like you said, not just tiredness. It's
like an evacuation or something.
That's right.
Yeah, somebody is really suffering from the altitude. Which I will say, you may have symptoms of altitude, headache, potentially dizziness, like that. It's not often severe. We do carry, the doctor's got oxygen bottles and things like that. Should it be Diamox? Should it be needed? Everything is provisioned for. But yeah, I mean, if you're just tired, then no, they probably wouldn't call a vehicle for you or a horse. They would maybe take some more breaks or slow down.
And the guide will stay with you at the back, like no matter what speed you're going.
100%.
Yeah, they want you to just keep going, but go at your speed, and the guide at the back will stick with you. You're never going to be alone.
Yeah, you will be encouraged, to train in a sense. I mean, you don't have to go crazy, but work on your cardio, maybe do some long walks. Be ready for it. You know what I mean? You don't want to do nothing and then get there, and then after one day of long trekking, your legs are so sore that you can't trek the next day. That would be disastrous for you after all you've done to get there, and all the energy and effort you put into it. So 100%, you'll want to make sure you're ready for the challenge. Whether it be from a cardio perspective, you're used to trekking, because every other weekend you spent, a day of walking and hiking, and it's just like anything. You want to prepare, and be ready to do what you're there to do, and that way you'll be successful.
Exactly. Isabel has a question about an amount of money that is suggested to take with her.
Well, it really is. It depends on. I mean, are you buying gifts? Are you typically a big spender? Do you like, you know what I mean? I mean, when I went there, I did have to buy a few gifts and things. I took $400 US and I came home with money. Things are not expensive there. So, I mean, I also had a credit card. They will not take Canadian. So you definitely want to take US funds. And as far as I recall, you cannot get Peruvian currency until you're there.
Yeah, I changed it there. Yeah.
Yeah. So on day one, when you do your city walk, if you ask, the guide can walk you past a currency exchange place that is reputable. There is a lot of counterfeit money in Peru, even in the banks. So we will go, they go to one very specific exchange place, and you can get a fair exchange for, US, Peruvian, whatever you need. You want to have lots of small bills with you if you want to tip, any of the restaurants or things like that. Yeah, so I took $400 US and I came home. I think I had maybe, 100 or something, 150 left. But I bought gifts for people while I was away. So
Hmm.
Um,
And a lot of people like in places in Cusco do take credit cards as well. Like all the markets and all the things like that. If you're
oh
shopping in the
yeah,
city, like they're all going to take credit cards. I would also say that you want to hang on to some cash to tip the guides. That's certainly one that we did. We made sure that the guides, the cooks, the people that set up the tents, everyone that's associated with it, the doctor, like everyone gets a tip. And it's all coordinated. We all pool money. It's put all together and then it's separated, broken out. Everyone gets an equal amount. So that was something we did on the last day. We
yeah.
pooled our money. And then with our guide, the main guide, we ended up splitting everything out and allocating the funds. And then we were able to have a nice little ceremony where we presented our tips to everybody and had a chance to really thank them for what they were able to do for us.
Yeah, I think in the Q and A's it says for a a full group of say 25 to 30, it's about 50 to 60 US per person. Um, I'm fairly certain that's what it was. That's what it had in there.
Hmm.
And you remember as well, tipping is discretionary. It's
Yep.
you only tip if you feel that the service was um, was a good service and warranted a tip. So you don't need to feel like you have to tip.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I have another question about the weather. It can get cool at night, and I don't know if you have any further comment on what it's like in the weather, and also about bringing your own sleeping bag because I think those kind of go together.
Certainly, yeah. So you do want to bring your own sleeping bag. I do believe that you can rent the bags if you don't want to, buy one if you don't have one. You can rent them from the handler. Um, but you've got to remember if you're renting a bag, I mean, we're not gonna be able to speak to how well the zipper works, or you may find it not clean enough for you. If it were me, I would bring my own bag. If you are gonna rent a bag, go and buy a slip liner from MEC or something like that.
Hmm.
They're maybe 20, 25 bucks, and you slip in that first, and it's just in case if you want to make sure that the bags are really clean.
Yeah.
Otherwise, bring your own bag. It does get cold at night, and in the early morning when you're getting up and getting stuff together, it is cool as well. The temperature does warm up quite quickly. As soon as the sun comes up, it's warm.
Hmm.
As soon as it goes down, it's like instantly cold. So you remember in the morning, you're going to be trekking very, very soon. What I would do, I do tend to feel the cold more than the average person. At night, I would wear long johns in my sleeping bag. A good tip is to throw whatever underwear, t-shirts you're gonna socks in the morning. Throw them in your sleeping bag so they're nice and warm when you put them on. Otherwise, it sucks putting on freezing cold stuff when you get out of your nice warm sleeping bag. But I'd layer up in the morning. So anything that was going to be a pain to take off on the trail, I would just take off before I left camp.
Hmm.
So I was a bit chilly. I'd pull off my long johns. I put on my trekking pants, but I would have a t-shirt, a long sleeve shirt, a fleece, maybe even a down jacket or something, let's just say. After a few minutes of trekking, 10, 15 minutes, you start to get warm. You take off your down jacket, you throw it in your backpack. You keep trekking. Eventually, you'll lose the fleece, and then maybe you're good to go. As soon as you get to your lunch spot, you can pull that stuff out of your day pack, shove it in your main bag that will be there waiting for you, and you don't have to carry it. It really is an individual thing. I would say most people will be fairly cool in the morning, but just layer up and just strip it off as you start walking. I would say within the first hour of trekking in the morning, you'll be down to what you're going to be having on the rest of the day.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. It does cool off at night. I can attest to that. I had a 3 season bag that I brought with me. I was toasty warm, and yeah, layering is the key to it all. Is really just to layer up. Once you get moving, once you get rolling, you're going to be peeling layers like crazy. And then also another question about a pillow too. Yes, you do have to provide your own pillow, and that can take the form of a blow up pillow potentially. Um, or whatever situation that suits you best.
Yeah, there's things. I believe it's called a pack rat, and it's just a bag that has fleece on one side and a cool, smooth lining on the other, and you can use it to hold things. But at night you can take those things out and you can stuff it with like your fleece or
Yeah,
some
sweater.
clothing, and it's quite a nice pillow. And that way it doesn't take. I mean, to bring a pillow on its own, I know my wife won't go anywhere without her pillow, and it takes up a lot of room, and they're heavy. So it's a good option. If you have to bring your own pillow, not the end of the world. Bring your own pillow.
Right. Yeah. And then any risk of running into any wild animals. I didn't see any wild animals, lots of alpacas, lots of llamas, but there weren't any really any dangers as far as wild animals when on my
I
trek.
saw absolutely. I've done the challenge 3 times now. I've seen alpaca and llama, domesticated cats and dogs. That's it. I literally didn't see anything. Oh, you know what? No, I lied. There's a type of squirrel looking thing. I forget what it's called now. And that was only in one area. And they're very, very timid. So you've got to, if you see them, you're lucky. Let's put it that way. So the answer really is no.
No.
You're not going to see anything. There were no bugs that I saw. When you got to Machu Picchu, as you're coming down in altitude, that's probably one of your lowest points. There'll be flies and things like that. But during the trek, I didn't see anything, nothing at all.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my experience too. So I'm going to switch now. We're coming to the very end of the webinar, and I'm just going to, now that we've had a chance to talk all about a lot more of the details, let's talk about the cost, because I'm sure people are wondering what the costs are. So you can choose between 2 payment methods, self-funder or flexi-funder. In both of these scenarios, we have a deposit of $650 that gets paid when at the time of booking. So when you commit to doing the trek, you pay $650, and then the balance is due 8 weeks before departure. So 8 weeks before March, it's like January. So for the self-funder model, it is $26.50, and this again, like Mark said, includes everything. So all the ground transfers, the hotels, the passes, the food, the guides, the doctor, everything is included in that. The flight is not included. So keep that in mind. In addition, the fundraising component for the self-funder is $2,500. And so that's the commitment that you are making to raise to support Cuso International. And like I said, I have tools and support, and I'm here as a resource to support you in your fundraising. I can provide you with a fundraising page, and on that page, you can collect donations and track your progress. For the Flexi Funder model, it's $1,650, and that again includes everything except your flight. And then each participant raises $4,000 with this model. So really, you're fundraising more and you're paying less out of pocket. If anyone has any questions, yeah.
Just for reference, flights you're typically looking at between. I mean, when I was going, it was between about like $900 and $1,100, something like that, $900 to $1,100. You can even, I've seen people get better deals than that even. But when I went, I think I paid $1,000 for mine. But typically, you can get them for a little bit less.
Yeah, I think I got mine just for slightly less. And, you can, typically the route is from your Canadian city to Lima and then Lima to Cusco. That short internal flight from Lima to Cusco is one that you have to consider as well. So, and like I said, you get to choose the option that suits you best. And in addition to this, any of the donations that come in are also tax receipted. So that's also something to keep in mind. And then we have a special offer that's going on right now. This is our early bird discount. So for the first 15 people to book using this promo code, CUSO200, they'll save $200 off the total challenge cost, which is amazing. I think it's quite significant. And so you can absolutely do that. And because you came to this webinar, we have an extra prize. So if you register before the end of July, or sorry, by the end of the day on July 1st, you'll be entered into a draw for $150 at any Best Western. So this will help you with maybe a transfer if you have to stay over in Toronto one night and you have an early flight the next day. You can stay at a Best Western, and you can be entered to win that prize if you register before the end of the day on July 1st. So that gives you a little bit of time to make your decision, but take advantage of these great offers. You can go to our website, cusointernational.org/Cuso Challenge. You can find out more information there, and links to register are also there. So that's great. So that takes me to the end of the presentation. Thank you, Mark, for joining me today.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
And here is our contact information. Again, there's our website. Feel free to ask us anything. Mark is a wealth of information, a really great resource to ask questions. So please feel free to reach out to both of us. After the presentation, there is a short survey. We want to hear from you, so please fill out the short survey at the end. And then after the presentation, I'm also going to send a recording. So if you have someone or you know someone who might be interested in this, or maybe you're looking to buddy up with someone, and this might be the thing that gives them the information they need to commit to this. I'll send the link to this presentation after the fact as well, so that you'll have it. I look forward to speaking with all of you about the challenge, and I hope that you will challenge yourself in 2020 and that you'll join us and have this really once-in-a-lifetime experience with Cuso International and Charity Challenge. So thanks everyone for joining me today. If there's any other questions, please feel free to let me know, but if you have to go now, I know time is up, so thanks again for joining.
I'm happy to stick around, Amy, if there's questions.
Okay, great.